Lakeshore News Tonight is brought to you in part by Community Healthcare Systems, Scapel, and Strachan Van Til.
On this episode of Built to Last, so stay tuned.
Support for Built to Last is provided by
Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.
Bosch, power tools for professionals. Proud sponsor of The Green Home. Florida Tile. Expect more. SPI Incorporated, protective coatings, proven performance, and real-world solutions for 24 years. Additional funding is provided by these firms.
Sometimes the outdoor space surrounding our home is just as important as the interior. Today, we'll beautify the outdoor space of our home using systems that will allow us to maintain our landscaping in a sustainable manner.
Hey Damon, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Bruce? Good to see you.
Hopefully that's our plan you have with you today.
Yep, got the landscape plan, wanted to go over it. We're getting ready to do this in the next couple of weeks. So, you know, the reality is we've already got some dirt on site. We've got some soil to spread. Wanted to go over that retaining wall.
Okay.
The sod, probably the rain garden stuff. Just hit on that real quick today and just basically walk the site. So we'll just go over it, make sure we're thinking the same on how it happens.
Sure.
And get our landscape contractor in here and let him take care of it.
Okay. Couldn't have picked a hotter day, huh? It's
No,
only about 100
no.
degrees out here. So
This is it right here, man. This is what we got.
got to do the work regardless, correct?
Yep.
All right.
Alrighty,
Take a
you wanna
look.
start here? All right, Bruce, what we're going to do over here is we're going to put the retaining walls in. So there's actually two levels, as you know. One starts over here and comes out and forms a rather large box and goes out basically to about 10 feet from the corner. And that's the tallest part of the box. The box
Okay.
is just an edge here. Here, though, we had to do something that was special that we didn't realize what we needed until you had told us about the village code and
Yeah, the
what
egress
depth
issue.
is.
This is an egress window. We can't be more than 30 inches.
So now it makes sense that we would have to raise this part of the
Right.
bed so that we could, make code. Our plants are 2 feet off of here, so it's easy enough to get in and out. And 2 feet is where we're keeping all the plants 2 feet out because that's a lead requirement.
Okay.
So no plants can be more than 2 feet from or closer than 2 feet to the house. And as a lead requirement, we actually are putting the plant a little bit farther out because the plant's going to grow.
Sure.
So basically, with a little maintenance, you can keep that open. It's air circulation. It keeps moisture from the house. Those kind of things. All right, Bruce. When we come around the corner here, this is where we have some significant grade issues that we got to deal with, and that's the purpose of those walls. So one of the things, the walls coming down here, it's basically about 2 feet tall. Meets the foundation steps that you set up for us.
Right.
So our wall's going to come, the face is here. It's going to be topped out at that's the top of the wall, a couple inches below that brick ledge. So we're not going to really see any of this. We're not going to see most of that gas meter. We're going to have the soil about there. So we have that transition piece that goes in. So it looks nicer than, this was just a temporary, you realize that was put in early in the year, it just had to be there. So now they'll come back, they'll cut it, there'll be a transition that looks nice from here. But you're really not going to see all this stuff right there. What we got over here again is our tank. And I think you were out here in the early part of the year when we put the cistern in.
Right.
And we could see a lot of the cistern at that point. What we're seeing now is just the tops of the 2-foot necks. So below that is the 2,500 gallon tank. Inside of there is a vortex filter, which basically filters out the big particulates, the pieces of sand and anything that gets in that pipe. And then down to that catch basin is where that stuff exits. So some of that water is used to drain the filtered material out.
Okay.
The rest of it goes in clean. And what we're going to do in here, this is the place where we're going to put the irrigation pump system. So the irrigation is going to go in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So all the water that's in this tank is just for the irrigation system. So we're not really using any potable water out of the house. Everything we're using is going to be rainwater collected. It's a rainwater cistern. Bruce, here are these garden boxes that we talked about.
Yes.
And they turned out really well. This originally was going to be stone, just like our retaining walls and such, but now it's out of a different material. But tell me what this stuff is, because it actually looks really nice.
Again, it's a recycled composite material. It matches our decking, so it was a great solution for this. And this is a great way to kind of handle the transition and grade on this side of the house as well.
Yeah, because we cut down on the erosion, you know, and that's again part of that retaining and terracing operation. So you want to go up to the top side of this and we can take a look at the treads, because the treads were cast specifically to put in here. So let's head up, look at the treads, and then, you know, maybe go inside and get some air conditioning.
Sounds great. Couldn't we have done all this inside? You had the plan.
Now you tell me.
Now that we know the plans for our landscaping, our outdoor team can get started with the layout. The first thing our team will set out to do is install the hardscape elements around the home. Our landscapers set the concrete steps that will lead down to our back porch area.
One of our first steps is to address the hardscapes, and what those entail would be planter boxes, pavers, and things like that. So that's areas where we need to haul stuff in, work with heavier equipment, so we're not disturbing anything else that we have in place, let alone softscape being sod and mulch. So we're going to get some delivery for some base material for pavers for patio areas. We have some steps going along the side of our house because of the change in grade, so we're going to have those set in place.
One of the most important aspects in your exterior environment or the landscape would be the hardscape, because really that's where your ingress egress to the property is going to be. That's where your cars are going to come in and out, where you're going to entertain, maybe cook, get out to the garage, take your garbage out. Guests are going to come to the front door. It's really critical that you think about those and design and orchestrate them properly for you, your family, your lifestyle, and how you're going to use those spaces, and that they're proportional to all those uses.
Underneath our deck area here, we're going to have a paver and patio area. So what we had to do is we had to excavate out about 10 inches in order to get a nice good base for the pavers to sit on. So we have a base and then a sub base where we can level it, use that to level the pavers in place and get everything set.
All the prep work you do below the ground sets the tone for what you're going to experience at the grade level or above. And if you skimp or cut corners or don't do it properly, then those systems are going to fail or not perform at the proper level.
We're pitching everything a little bit to get it away from the house. We want positive drainage, but once all that's set in place, they'll come back with the compactor, compact it all, make sure we meet the pitch and everything before they start setting the pavers. The paver we're using, it's a little bit different product, and it's made with fly ash. So it's a recycled material, and it helps us as far as a lead in a green product. And it's manufactured in a green plant, so it's all green technology, and we're happy to incorporate that into this project.
Some of the nice attributes about it are that it uses 40% recycled content. This is produced in Racine, Wisconsin, and the fly ash comes from just up the road. The sand that's a part of it comes from just down the road, so it's all local materials go into this where it's produced. And that's it. It uses no concrete. Concrete and the production of concrete actually contributes 8% of the planet's CO2. It's fully just about the same as coal energy production and automobile exhaust. They're staggering amounts of CO2 production. This uses 80% less energy than a concrete paver and 80% less energy to make than a clay paver. It's truly revolutionized the market for these type of materials because it contributes so much less CO2 and uses so little energy. So you get a lot of great attributes by using the product in your project.
And what they've moved on to now is the grading operation. They're starting to set the grade so we have the proper drainage on the lot, pulling out all the rocks and the material that, you know, any weeds, big rocks, clay, brick, you know, you pick it all up, you get it prepped for your sod. In this case, we're doing sod. So basically, they will do this over the next couple days. We'll make sure that everything's ready for the irrigation guy. He's going to come in when the grade is set, install his piping for irrigation, cover that back up, and then the landscape crew will come back in, do a final rake out and grade, and then install the sod.
Hey Daniel, how are you?
Hey Bruce, it's good to see you today. Thanks for coming out.
Oh, it's a great setting. I'm glad to be here. I understand you're going to help us out with some plants for our home.
Yes, I took a look at your plans and you guys have done some great work. I really like some of the choices that you've made and that other people are starting to make when considering their plant options, in particular using natives and drought-tolerant plants.
And that's something we really wanted to explore here. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what's considered a drought-tolerant plant or native plant, and we're hoping maybe you could help us out and elaborate a little more on that.
Yeah, one of the nice things about natives is they occurred in this region originally. So the plants and animals and the insects and all that are used to interacting with them. And it's nice to have your landscape have some of that be a part of it. I mean, for example, here's some native plants here that are on your plan that I've brought out. And this is a salvia. And the blooms on this, which bloom in May to June, they attract butterflies and hummingbirds. So that's another nice dimension that you can bring to the landscape by incorporating plants like that while still using a drought-tolerant native plant. This goldenrod, it'll attract a lot of butterflies and also has a light fragrance in the fall, kind of a sweet fragrance.
Well, it sounds great. Now, what are some of the other plants we've got here too? I see got some native grasses and things like that here.
These are some of the native grasses that you would normally see in the prairie and other areas. And one thing that people don't realize about perennials is many of them really like pretty cruddy soils. You're really not going to have to do very much. You can plant them in pretty marginal areas, and once they're established, you really don't have to maintain them or fertilize them or do that much to them. Established is a good word because you're going to need to supplementally irrigate those for a while to get them rooted out and interface with the soil. So I mean, basically these plants have been living in this little pot. It's going to take a while for them to root out and get connected with all the earth around them and be established around their own, so to speak.
One of the things we have is we have the raised planter beds and boxes. Is there something in particular we should take in consideration when we're doing this?
I really like your plan and how you've repurposed the leftover decking materials to create those planters. Everybody on their project should be thinking along those lines, and that's a much more sustainable way. One thing you need to consider with planters is that they're perched high. So just like when you water a pot and the water comes out the bottom, they're probably going to have a little bit more requirement for water. Our frosts here are down to 42, 48 inches, so that could freeze entirely in the winter. You might not want to put a large tree in that planter because it's going to have more area that it needs for its roots, so keep plants at a little bit smaller scale. One of the nice aspects about that is it creates kind of this level sort of access to it, and it's a great way to stage certain things, maybe a cutting garden for flowers, a potager garden for herbs and things like that you could harvest and use for cooking.
I mean, these are great settings, and from what you're telling, it's not that difficult to do. People, just a little bit of homework and planning ahead can achieve a lot of good things.
Yeah, anybody at any level, no matter high or low, can do all the things that you've incorporated into your project. So we don't need to be the richest people in the world to do a lot of these things and incorporate them. And they don't need to all be done at once. You can do them little by little and phase them in, and eventually you'll have a great end result.
No, it's great. I appreciate your time today, and I'm going to spend a little time and take a look around and see what you have here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. So we're at the corner of the box, and that's right. That's where it should be. We should do maybe.
Preparation work that took place for our irrigation system was a lot of the layout. So as part of the layout, we've got some drip irrigation system that'll be in our planting beds. We have some different type of heads that are zoned to cover our sod areas, and then we have some raised planters that'll get some other consideration.
We'll have 2 valve boxes on this property, one on the north side, one on the south side of the house. There's 8 total zones, so 4 and 4. Those are controlled from a control box. It's in the downstairs maintenance room over here, which has a timer on it that we set what time we want these zones to turn on. So if we have it at 5 a.m., zone 1 pops on for however minutes we have it regulated to go, and continuously run through the whole system until we get through all 8 zones. We did have to regulate the nozzles we use so that we weren't using too much water, because this lawn's being watered by these catch basins. So if we use too much water, we don't want to drain them. The way that it's set up is we can run this system 5 times. We want to run it every other day, so we could run 10 days before we need it to rain again in order to keep watering.
Hey Jeff, how's it going today?
Hey Damon, good.
All right. What do we got?
We're all set up here. The guys got the 8 zones that we initially accounted for.
Okay.
We were able to run that one drip zone 3.
Okay.
We teed it off and brought it to the back here, so it would work better that way.
Right, okay.
So we're ready to close everything up. We just got to get this pump in here, test everything, and we're good to go.
I want to see this thing work, so guaranteed, right?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed, that's what we want. So what we've got is the pump and irrigation system is in. It's been tested. It covers everything that we're going to do. So right now everything's looking good. The sod is next, the mulch goes in at the same time, and then we're going to do the rain garden. That'll happen at the same time the sod goes in.
Yesterday we did a run through with our irrigation system, checked out all the zones, everything's working great, exactly as planned. So once that's in place, today we're getting ready to start laying out our planting beds and get ready to install our sod.
Mulch does a couple things. It's going to basically, it keeps the weeds down. The second thing is it keeps the moisture in the soil because the soil can't dry out. It's not exposed to the sun. Third, as it breaks down, it adds some nutrients to the soil. So, the mulch has, a lot of different uses. It's not just the aesthetic use of it, but it actually does something for the landscape. Our mulch that we're using today is double shredded hard bark mulch. It's well rotted and adds nutrients to the soil. A lot of times the tree guy will ask you if you want a quote load of mulch, the stuff that they chip up. That stuff is green. It actually takes nitrogen out of the soil to break it down, and it doesn't really work like this stuff does. So always, go the extra mile when you're going to do your mulch. It's going to last longer, it's better for the soil, and it's going to look better in the long run too. So the aesthetic is one point for doing the mulch, but it does have the other functions.
As part of our lead criteria for this house, we were minimizing the amount of sod we have, mainly just because of maintenance and things like that. And we're trying to get more towards planting beds where we can use drought-tolerant plants and things like that, kind of to enhance the house and the yard with more things like that, make it a little more environmentally friendly, get the owner out there to do some gardening and things like that. So we do have some large planting beds, but once everything, the plan is fully realized, the space will really develop great.
All right, our sod was delivered about an hour ago. It comes to us on pallets, 64, 65 rolls of pallet. A roll is 1.5 feet wide, about 10 feet long. It's about 10 feet per roll, roughly. And the sod itself, it's cut from the field. It has, soil on the bottom, a root mass on the bottom, and we have the nice green turf on the top. It's drought-tolerant sod. It's a seed blend called Black Beauty, and specifically made for the drought tolerance. So that all fits in with our LEED certification to have this be a LEED greenhouse. The process to lay the sod down is not really that complex. It's almost like laying carpet tile. Basically, the grade is prepared, it's raked out, it's nice and smooth. You take that roll of sod, you roll it out, you butt it together with the next roll, and you keep going. Usually you stagger the joints almost like the brick on the house is staggered, called a running bond, so none of the joints would line up as you put the sod down. Then you water it in really heavy,
so it kind of mats to the ground, and 2-3 weeks later it takes off on its own. It's got a little bit of root to it, and it's a nice lush looking lawn. To install the rain garden, we prepared a plan, and it basically called out and specified the plants that would be in the rain garden. Then we have the prepared soil in the rain garden, the stuff that's going to drain well, but also the interface between the prepared soil and the soil that we're doing as an additive. That is basically tilled or spaded up, so the interface is open so the water can get down to the lower level of the soil. And so now that that's all been prepared, basically the plants are installed just like you would install anything else. They're potted plants. They come to us all in 1-gallon containers. We take them out, dig the hole, put the plant in the ground and tuck it in. We've got sort of a mix of grasses and flowers. The grasses are very drought tolerant. The flowers are a little less. As perennials go, they are drought tolerant. So we've got a little color, we've got a little motion with the wind, and we've got just a little interesting texture with that too. As people drive by from the street, they're going to see the grasses because they're taller, but those are in the back, and then basically the lower stuff's in the front, the taller stuff's in the back. The flower line is in the front, so they'll see the flowers up against the backdrop of the swaying little blue stem grass. Well, we're done with the landscape. So our sod's in, our rain garden's in, our mulch has been installed, our patio's in, everything looks good, the irrigation system is up and running, so the entire project, at least from a landscape aspect, pretty well at a close. There's always a bustle of activity. It's really busy right at the end to get everything installed. We did it, and now we can kind of sit back and look at it and just enjoy it.
To the average person passing by, our landscaping is just another beautiful element to the exterior of our home. Of course, we now know that this system will put less strain on our water resource while still maintaining curb appeal. On the next episode, we'll review our home's progress, so join us next time on Built to Last, the Green Home.
Visit the Built to Last website to learn about these topics and more. Support for Built to Last is provided by
Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.
Bosch, power tools for professionals. Proud sponsor of The Green Home. Florida Tile. Expect more. SPI Incorporated, protective coatings, proven performance, and real-world solutions for 24 years. Additional funding is provided by these firms.